It is 12 noon in Oslo. It's 2:30 p.m. in Kabul. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One, live from London. Anders Breivik, who killed 77 people on one day last year, says he would do it again. Breivik made the chilling statement just a few hours ago as he took the stand in an Oslo courtroom for the first time. He was given 30 minutes to explain why he carried out the massacre. But unlike earlier proceedings, it wasn't allowed to be televised. Diana Magne is following proceedings in Oslo. She joins us now live. Diana.
Hi, Monita. Yes, you're right. There was a hiccup in proceedings, really, at the beginning of this day two of Anders Breivik's trial.
Thank you very much for that, Diana Magne there in Oslo. We want to see what newspapers around the world are saying about this. In the UK, the newspaper The Guardian writes this headline: Norway's troubled example to the world. It's an opinion piece that says, to its credit, Norway has refused to rise to Breivik's provocation. That was the mistake which the United States made after 9/11. Norway has rightly put him on trial in the normal way, however painful that may be. This is absolutely the correct way to assert the strength of democracy and the rule of law in the face of acts of terror of all kinds. In The Australian, there's an opinion column with this headline: Breivik evokes a quisling trial. It says, to many, Breivik's behavior was so bizarre that he could only be insane. This is the eternal dilemma of forensic psychiatry. The issue of Breivik's sanity will remain controversial, and regardless of the outcome of the trial, there will always be those who feel justice has not been served. And lastly, the British paper The Independent has this headline: Norway's dignity in dealing with its worst killer will heal the wounds of his atrocity. Commenting on the opening formalities in court, the article says one of the most chilling moments was Breivik's exchange of handshakes with prosecutors, court officials and the psychiatrist. But Norwegian court protocol was simply being observed. No exceptions would be made, however grotesque the crime. Australia could bring almost all its troops in Afghanistan home by the end of 2013. That's a year earlier than expected. It is part of a new strategy set out by the Prime Minister. Julia Gillard says the timetable for handing security duties over to Afghan forces. Well, Australia has 1,500 troops in Afghanistan. It's a small presence relative to that of the United States, which has 90,000 military personnel there right now. Other big contributors include the United Kingdom, with bases in Helmand province and 9,500 servicemen and women. Now, Germany's contingent is just under 5,000 troops, followed by Italy and France. At the other end of that spectrum is, the scale, I should say, Luxembourg has sent 11 service people. As for what happens next, that really depends on the Afghan president. In the coming months, Hamid Karzai is expected to set out a timetable for Afghan forces to take over security in more areas, including the region Australian troops that are currently responsible for. CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh joins us now from Paktika province in southeast Afghanistan. Nick, what kind of impact could this withdrawal have there on security? Very much for that. Nick Payton-Walsh there reporting. You are watching World One live from London. An uneasy ceasefire is on thin ice this morning after an apparent surge in violence. Watson is following developments from Istanbul in Turkey. He joins us now live with the latest. Ivan.
Monita, it's been 5 days since this UN-brokered ceasefire was supposed to go into effect. Every day.
What do we know about this? These reports that are coming now about a ship suspected of smuggling arms to Syria, but apparently that ship is now missing.
This is an interesting story that says something about the mysterious nature of shipping.
In a year after Egypt deposed a dictator, the return to democracy is proving to be a bumpy one. The Electoral Commission has barred a number of prominent candidates from running for president in next month's vote. Two of them are well-known Islamists. Another was the head of intelligence under former President Hosni Mubarak. Voting will take place over 2 days, beginning May 23rd. All three are appealing to have their exclusion overturned. We want to speak to Abdel Latif El-Manawi. He's the author of Tahrir, The Last 18 Days of Mubarak. Thank you very much for being with us. What do you think about the fact that the Electoral Commission is now taking control and actually wanting to overrule or exclude certain candidates from running in this election?
Actually, I will not be surprised if the decision comes.
Latif El-Manawi, thank you so much for your time. This is World One, live from London. Space shuttle Discovery takes to the skies for one last flight, but NASA's oldest space shuttle, the Discovery, is poised and ready to make its final flight. It is flying from its home at the Kennedy Space Center to its final resting place, the Smithsonian Institute in Washington. But it won't be a solo mission. The shuttle is piggybacking atop a jumbo jet for the trip. John, thank you very much for that, John Zarella there at Kennedy Space Center. And one word that's being described for this event is bittersweet. You are watching World One, live from London. Amnesty International says the human rights situation in Bahrain is still in crisis. That is the conclusion of a report the human rights group has just released. While the government says it is on the road to reform, Amnesty says the changes so far have been flawed and piecemeal. It says it is still getting reports of torture and the use of unnecessary force against protesters. Amnesty says Bahrain needs to hold security officials to account for alleged violations and should release prisoners and address alleged discrimination against Shia Muslims. Well, Bahrain has responded to Amnesty International's report by saying it has made great strides to make the country, quote, a much better place to live in. A government spokesman says it has implemented a host of changes outlined in a report last year.
It's unfortunate that some of these international human rights organizations...
Well, all this comes as opposition activists call for demonstrations ahead of Sunday's Formula One Grand Prix race in Bahrain. Well, for more on the report and what's going on in Bahrain, we're joined by Saeed Boukhmebdoua. He's a Bahrain researcher at Amnesty International. Thank you very much for being with us, Saeed. Isn't some reform better than none?
Well, I mean, we have welcomed the reform.
Had these measures been in place before?
No, these are all starting from the end of February.
So, what do you say then when you hear that a major sporting event is going to take place at the weekend, the Grand Prix Formula One? What do you say to that? Should that be cancelled?
Well, I mean, the government is really trying to portray Bahrain as a stable...
Okay. All right, so thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that. Millions of people in central Chile were shaken overnight. It was around midnight when a 6.7 magnitude quake struck offshore north of Valparaiso. Just hours later, on the other side of the Pacific, this one is 6.8, about 140 kilometers north of Lae in Papua New Guinea. It was just offshore, but some 200 kilometers deep. No tsunami is expected. We want to get more details now about the aftermath of the quake in Chile. Let's go to our meteorologist, Mari Ramos, at the World Weather Center. Mari.
And Monita, yes, definitely very lucky when it comes to that earthquake in quake in Chile.
Yeah, thankfully, Mari. Thank you very much for that. This is World One, live from London. The world's most prestigious club football competition takes center stage again today with the first of the Champions League semi-finals. Alex Thompson's here to take a look at that and much more. Hello.
Hi, morning, Monita. Yes, this really is a clash of the titans. Real Madrid have been crowned European champions. Yeah, it's going to be a tense few days in the run-up to the latest leg of the Formula One World Championship, that's for sure, Monita.
And we'll be watching. All right, Alex, thank you very much. You are watching World One, live from London. It's a story of hope, good fortune, and some very clever use of the internet. After years of separation and despair, a little Indian boy who strayed from home has navigated his way back into the arms of his mother as a man. Sarah Seidner has the story about the reunion that defied all odds.
Fatima B. Munshi's story begins with heartbreak. And then, Khandwa, India.
And I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for watching World One. We leave you with pictures of the shuttle Discovery ready to make its final flight.